Okay, today I'm going to be talking you through a client check-in automation. So this is what happens when a client fills in the check-in form, and what it's going to do, it's going to filter that check-in. It's going to add your details of that client to Notion. It's going to provide the check associated with that client. It's going to format the date. It's going to make sure that the details are then attached to that client's profile on Notion. It's going to update their last check-in date. It's going to analyze then what that check-in was. It's going to send a thank you to the client to say thank you for checking in. And it's also going to send you, the coach, a summary of that check-in with its recommendations based on a prompt that I've written. So super powerful and a really, really fast way to gather information, update databases, and then make sure that you've got all the relevant information in a single snapshot rather than having to go through all that different information. Other benefit is you're going to store all of the check-ins in the same place. So rather than having to traipsing back through different platforms and logins, you can see all of the check-ins in the same place. So this is how it's going to work. The trigger is going to be a tally check-in. So when the client checks in, you can set it up this way. And under new submission, so that's an instant trigger, you're going to configure it on, I've set up a client check-in form. And then if going to run the test in a second. But essentially that's going to be the trigger. When someone fills in that form, that information is going to come through. The second step then, it's going to find within a Notion profile, it's going to find their leads tracker database, and it's going to find that exact client based on their email address. Once it's found the right client, then we can update the information on that page and the associated database information because it knows which database ID it's looking for in the future. So they're going to format the data because sometimes it comes through in a bit of a funny format. So we're then going to change the format and neaten it up. And that's going to take this submitted from step 1 long form into a shorter form. We just retest that one. It's going to come out with a nice, neat formatted date for us. Next step then is going to add that check-in to the client's check-in database. I've got a database then that sits within the leads tracker, and we're going to call this one name of the person who we've just found, step 2, check in, and the output is the date from the date formatting step in step 3. The client it's going to associate with then is the ID in step 2 that it's found based on the email address that was submitted to the check-in. And we can then update things like when the last check-in was. We're then going to, within the content section of their profile, which I'll show you in just a second, add all that information in. So it's already pulled one, which I've put together previously. So what color would you rate yourself at in terms of a RAG score? So red, amber, or green. What the biggest wins have been, biggest challenges, and is there anything else that I'd need to know? All that information they've submitted in step 1 from that tally form is then going to be pulled through. And the next step is to update the client's last check-in date. So next, it's going to go back to that same database item in the leads tracker, the client's profile. It's going to update when their last check-in was, which is this step down here. And the output then is being pulled through from step 3. And then this is when it gets much more powerful, where AI steps in and it analyzes the full check-in and then provides a much, much clearer oversight for you. So rather than you having to read through the whole thing, obviously you still will do, but it's going to give you a summary really quickly. So going to use OpenAI's ChatGPT 4o Mini. The input fields are going to be the check-in form name, the color that they've given themselves, the wins, challenges, and anything else, that question, as well as the date. So the prompt that I've written for is: you're a world-class coach working with clients to help them perform at their best. You're known for your insight, results, and supportive manner. Review this client's check-in information, summarizing the key information for me. Summarize the most important information, being insightful but concise. Avoid using hashtags and asterisks, because sometimes it formats it in a funny way when it comes through an email later. The steps I'd like you to follow are: review the check-in information, analyze the score, analyze the wins, analyze challenges. Based on the check-in, provide 2 to 3 recommendations for me to help support the client, summarize the check-in information and your recommendations. So for example, a great response would be: the client's check-in form is a red score. They've explained challenges around sleep, which may be a significant factor. My recommendations are for you to arrange a call to discuss the challenges, ask them to split their sleep data for the last 7 days, and send them a pre-bed routine that will help them unwind before bed. As an example, that's the detail and the steps that I wanted to go through. Please now action this and create a world-class summary and recommendations for me to use with my client. So let's see, based on the check-in that I filled in, what it's going to come up with. Okay, so it's saying here the client's check-in form indicates an amber score reflecting some progress, but also notable challenges. Celebrated a win by completing a successful strength session on Tuesday, key list with good energy throughout the week. They faced challenges over the weekend where family visits disrupt their routine, leading to poor dietary choices and more alcohol. Additionally, they've got upcoming travel for work, which may impact the routine further. To support the client effectively, recommend the following actions: schedule a call, encourage them to prepare healthy snacks, and suggest setting specific goals for hydration and nutrition during their time away. In summary, the client's making progress, but is facing challenges related to diet and routine disruptions. The recommendations focus on proactive planning to help stay on track during social events and travel. So see how useful that is. You get this super quick insight with some recommendations that you can act on, but you can obviously go back into the check-in and go into a little bit more depth and make sure you're getting all the full information there as well. The step 7 then is it's going to send that summary to the coach. So if we run this, I'm going to show you what happens as the email that comes through. And I'm also going to show you what happens on the Notion database as well. So let's run this now. Okay, so we've got our client check-in form here. And we're just going to fill this in as, let's pick someone, Rich Cook. Okay, this is somebody I've made up. So let's say that this week it was a red, was not a good week. Biggest wins this week. I was able to complete one of my gym sessions and even hit a PB in the bench press. 2 biggest challenges. I have a young child who has not been sleeping well, meaning that my sleep has also been affected. I have taken a hit on my training and my energy has been really low because of this. Would really appreciate help with this challenge, please. Okay, anything else that helped for me to know? Lack of time due to work has also added pressure to me this week. Okay, let's just make sure that we're going to publish this one. Okay, so it's now published. So when we submit, what's going to then happen is that this should all trigger automatically. So let's see what happens. Submit that check-in. Now, what should happen is, if you remember, it's going to go through these different steps. It's going to update the Notion profile, analyze the information, and then send a summary email to the coach, i.e. me. So let's jump over into the client check-in database first of all. And as you can see, we've got Rich Cook check-in on the 8th of the 10th. And if we open it up, it should have pulled that information in. So it's associated with the relevant client. It said it's pulled in all the key information here. It's just which we answered in the check-in form. If we go over to Rich, then in the filtered view of check-ins, it will list that one specifically as well as all their previous check-ins in that profile. Now, what it's also done, hopefully, is pulled through new client check-in. So here's the summary from AI. The client's check-in indicates a red score, highlighting significant struggles. They managed to complete one gym session and achieved a personal best in the bench press, which is a positive outcome. However, the primary issues are related to sleep deprivation caused by young child's restlessness, leading to low energy and negatively impacting training. In addition, the client is feeling pressured due to time constraints from work. To support the client effectively, I recommend the following: schedule a call, encourage them to implement a simple sleep hygiene routine that would improve rest quality, explore time management techniques to balance work and training more effectively. In summary, the client's facing significant challenges impacting their performance, but has some wins in the gym. Focused support on their sleep issues and time will be crucial, helping them regain momentum. So again, really helpful just to get a high level overview with some insights and some recommendations. So you're kind of one step ahead by the time you're thinking about acting on one like this, which obviously needs a little bit more support than just a simple message back and some encouragement to keep on track. If it was a green score, in this case, you need a little bit more in-depth support. So really helpful just to get that type of stuff. Okay, so hopefully you can see how powerful this automation is for streamlining that check-in process and just making sure that every week you're getting high-level information filtered to you. The Notion database is getting updated. All the key information is kept in the same place, and you can go back and see all the check-ins for each individual client based on their profile really simply every single week. So super powerful. And if you would like me to chat to you about how we can implement something similar to this in your business, just drop a message down below.